Hi and welcome to my channel. I absolutely love that you're here today. Thank you for clicking that button. Thank you for stopping by. My name is Ngozi. I also go by Ng Thee Afro Nomad, and I'm absolutely excited for this video. It's been too long. It has been too long. I'm sorry, but I'm back and I hope I should be better. I should do better. But here in this video, we're going to be talking about my trip to Dubai. I'm going to be talking about the activities and also the budget, so how much I spent on everything that I did. It was a week-long trip and I'm just going to tell you all the tea, so let's get right into it. Dubai was such a beautiful, and not was, is such a beautiful city. So the UAE in general is just lovely. We spent most of our time in Dubai. We also visited Sharjah, and I'll be showing a few clips from both places. Just an amazing time, had the best time. So I went with 3 other people, a friend of mine, her sister, and another friend of theirs. I don't think I have said this. This was my first group trip, and I'm just going to tell you, this is your sign. If you are watching this, this is your sign. When they ask you, do you want to go, say yes. You know, just go on a group trip. It absolutely is worth it in terms of budget. It's worth it when you have company, people who take pictures for you. It's just the blast. So I did all the calculations. I have a book here, and I also have the list on my phone of things we did so that I don't get confused. I'm going to tell you everything about it and also give advice. So I think my first advice, this is a good point for me to give an advice. First advice to go to Dubai, I think should be a group trip. It's always way cheaper, and I feel an ideal number of a group would be 4 people, because like fitting in a taxi, if you want to be taxiing, like we did a lot of taxi rides while we were there. So fitting in a taxi is just ideal. One taxi gets everybody, you know, all 4 people fit in and you're on your way. And also like splitting groups, group activities between 4 people. There's so many Groupons. That's one thing I absolutely loved about this trip. We got so many deals because we're up to 4 people, and maybe if it's like a pick up and drop off from your hotel kind of deal, like 4 people is an ideal number. So one large van or a taxi, large car can come pick all 4 of us, and then splitting it between 4 people, it was just the best number. But I know it's not everybody's cup of tea. Like you might just be 2, you might just be alone, or like that's just an advice. So you can take it, you cannot, it's totally fine, but it's an advice that it's best to go in a larger group. 4 is an ideal number. So I will now start from like everything I paid for. This is just going to be talking about the trip in terms of how much I spent. So roughly, at first I used to think, and I think when I just got back, a lot of people were asking, so how much was it, how much was it? And I was saying a lot of about roughly £1,400. I sat down today and put pen to paper, and I realized that I spent way more than that. But actually it's not too off or too away from it, and some of the other things that I didn't pen down initially are actually personal things like shopping or like taxi to the airport and things like that. And now putting it to paper, I'm like, okay, that's why it was way more. But ideally these are things that you might have, maybe you're living closer to an airport, it might not really apply to you. So technically 1,400 is still an ideal number or an ideal budget. If you want to stretch it, I'll just say £1,500 should be an ideal budget for you. But I spent roughly 1,600 when I put pen to paper. I was like, okay, that's how much I spent. But you know, I'm going to tell you all the tea. Starting from the very first thing I paid for was the visa. So I have it written down here. The visa was £82.77. So an advice for getting your visa, I actually think it's best to get it because you can't, for at least I don't have the passport privilege to get like a visa on arrival like some people do. And I think, I'm not completely sure, but I think people with a UK passport may not need a visa. I will need to check that. I will let you know like if it's wrong, but you may not need a visa. So lucky you, you may not need to pay this money, but the rest of us without the passport privilege, we need to pay this money. So at the time I got my visa through Etihad Airways. So that if you Google Etihad Airways UAE visa, how to get the visa, that's literally how I applied, and in less than 8 hours, I think roughly 8 hours, because my friend told me She got hers in 24 hours. So I was like, okay, 24 hours, I'll just wait and see. Roughly 8 hours, they had approved my visa and I just downloaded it. So that was ideal. I paid £82.77 for the visa. Literally, it was in AED, so it was in dirhams, but that was the conversion that the bank took from my card for that visa. So that's how much it was. Then the next thing I got was the flight. I actually got the flight for the visa, now I think of it. But anyways, the flight ticket. So this was where the bulk of my money went to be 100% honest. So, and this was kind of like my fault. So the trip, we went in August. I started planning for this trip in July. I literally had very few, like about 4 weeks and a few days from when I decided to go to Dubai to when I went to Dubai. So because of that, I didn't have the luxury of getting like a longer flight, or a flight that would need like a transit that would be way cheaper. I saw way cheaper flights. I think at the time I was searching, I was saying like £600 and everything for flights, but most of them were passing maybe Amsterdam, France. And because your girl has a Nigerian passport, we cannot just go to the airport without a transit visa. I did not have any leave day to take the time away to take a transit visa. And even if I did have a leave day, I did not have the time to get an appointment, get the visa back, and make sure that everything happened in that 1 month span. So because of that, I decided to look for flights that are direct or stopping in a place where I do not need a transit visa. Thankfully, Qatar Airways came to the rescue. So because of that, my flight fare was roughly £894. So that was £893.95. This is way more expensive, over £200 more expensive than other flights that I was seeing that was like either from London or from like a layover somewhere, or like a short transit somewhere. And that's also another thing I want to mention. I flew from Edinburgh, so Scotland. I just want to say that I know this is not the best word to use, but when you're flying from the UK, please fly from England, okay? Because flights from Scotland is like they used to double the price. It's so expensive from Scotland. So if you're looking for like another way to save on this, either have more time so that you can apply for a transit visa, book way in advance, or fly from England. So if you're in Scotland, especially somewhere like Edinburgh, Glasgow, find the nearest English airports to you that maybe you can travel by train to the airport and back home. That would be ideal, and you save way more money than what I paid. Next up, before going, I sent some money into, because I use TransferWise, so that's like a travel card that usually you can get. It has a very amazing deal. I think this is not an advert, but for some reason I just had to say, because it was really helpful. It had the best deal ever. So I sent some money into my TransferWise and created an account in dirhams. So you can create an account in different currencies that they have available. So for me, I created an account in dirhams, sent some money over just for like the first few, because I wanted to see, like in case I'm leaving the airport, I need an airport taxi, and the first few things that I need to pay for, it was just best to have that card that I could use. But then I took some pounds as well. So I took pounds over to UAE, and the first day after I went to the mall and then exchanged the money. And I always hear, and I actually believe so, that it's way cheaper when you take currency and exchange in the country than when you do it, you exchange at home before you leave. So it's, you know, that's also something to note. Best to exchange in the country on most occasions. Another thing I want to advise on, if you are in Scotland, take English bills. So literally there's this discrimination, you know, it's the same, like I can carry a Scottish bill, go to England, same this thing is not like lower or higher, same value for English or Scottish bills. But outside the UK, they see the English bill as a higher value than they see the Scottish bill. So please take your English bills. I took a mixture. I think I got an exchange rate of £1 to 4.4 dirhams. But for the Scottish bills, I got £1 to 4.3 dirhams. I was pained. Thankfully, it was just 30 Scottish pounds that I took. So I was like, okay, that's not too bad. But it was so annoying. Imagine if everything I took was Scottish. It would have been so annoying to know that they'll accept it, but they'll give me a way lower rate than they will give me for English deals. Before I got into all this gist, I was about to tell you that I exchanged some money. So roughly how much I exchanged was about £300. I exchanged about £56.67 on TransferWise, and I had that on my card. So that was 250 dirhams ready on my virtual card that I could use at the airport for taxis and things like that. And then what I now did for the next thing I did was, when I got there, I took £250 and then I exchanged it, and that gave me roughly over 1,000 dirhams that I had for spending all my activities and everything, groceries, everything. And it actually went a long way. I think it finished towards the end, like I think a day before we left, but that went way longer than I thought it was going to go, so that was ideal. Another thing I want to say about this is an advice I forgot to say at the start about flying to the UAE. It mustn't always be flying to Dubai. If you don't find a cheap flight to Dubai, you can fly to Sharjah. That's what I did. Sharjah is like 30-40 minutes drive away from Dubai. So if you fly to Sharjah, you can now get like a taxi, either a bus, a taxi, whatever suits your budget, over to Dubai, and that works out well. So it's either Sharjah or Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi is a bit further away, so Abu Dhabi is about 3 hours drive, and it's way more expensive taxi and everything else. So if you're going to Dubai primarily, you can get a bus. And the thing about buses is you would need to pay by cash. So if you're getting like a taxi, like an Uber, or like you get the taxi they use there. So there are different taxis, but there's this one called Kareem. It's actually very ideal. It's so good. Get a taxi from the airport to Dubai itself, and it works out pretty well. You save some coins on the flight, and you know, everything else. Next up, I'm talking about accommodation. So reason why at the start I mentioned that being a larger group saves you money was because of this. So the accommodation we had was so beautiful. It was this called Rihan 7 Burj Khalifa community. From the community name, you already know how we're centered. We're literally 12 minutes walk away, and I think that was the longest one. So I think 12 minutes at most away from Dubai Mall. At least like 8 minutes, depending on the exit you go out of the building from. So we literally just walk down, cross the road, we're at the mall, we're at everything. And one thing about Dubai is the mall is really connected. It's connected to Burj Khalifa, it's connected to the metro, it's connected to like different sightseeing places that people like tourists like to see. So that place was just ideal. Most of the time we never need to do anything. We could just walk to the mall and find our way there, aside when we're going further away, like to desert safari and things like that. So that accommodation was so beautiful. It was a 2-bed accommodation. We also had a sofa bed in the living room, so it was ideal for like 6 people, but we're just 4, you know. It had a kitchen, a balcony area, spacious. It had a pool, and like because there is like almost like a residential area, so like there were parking spots, there was a pool, lovely people that you know all around and everything. For this accommodation, it was £601, so each person paid roughly £150, which was just ideal. 150. Imagine paying £150 for a week stay in Dubai that is so expensive. Exactly. So being that number really saved us a lot, and then we're just positioned in a really lovely place where it was good enough with lovely views and for us to walk over to the mall. So it all just worked out. Next up, I'm going to talk about each and every activity that we did. So we did so many activities, starting from the very first day. The first day was just like a calm day. We chilled most of the day. When we all got together, we chatted a lot, then we went grocery shopping. So that's not really an activity, but we also went to the mall, walked around the mall and everything. The next day we went to Sharjah. So Sharjah was really lovely. First off, we got dropped off at the expo center, and then we walked over because it was like a beach opposite. So we walked over to the beach, walked the beach there, then we took a taxi over to Ng Island. So Ng Island is absolutely gorgeous. Although the heat that day, the sun that day, oh, it was so hot. It was so hot. But the it was a beautiful sight. Everything was lovely. I think I particularly really enjoyed the butterfly exhibition house. So you get to see like butterflies just flying around and you could hold them and everything. It was so beautiful. So the entire island, the entry for a self-guided tour, which was what we did. There are different prices for different tours, but the self-guided tour was 25 dirhams, roughly £5.68. After the Alno Island, we then got another taxi and went over to Rain Room Sharjah. So Rain Room Sharjah is just really lovely place where it's just a dark room with artificial rain coming, and it actually has sensors. So what you can do is, if you walk slowly enough, you walk under the rain and you don't get wet. It's just a beautiful place where you can take the most beautiful photos, videos, and just have a blast. That was also 25 dirhams for entry, so roughly the same, roughly £5.6. That's all we did for the first day of exploring. The next day, because of how hot we experienced the sun, and first off, I'm just gonna break and give you another advice. So another advice that you should take note of: don't go to Dubai in summertime, okay? Do not do it. I've done it, so you shouldn't. I went ahead of you so that you should not do the same mistake that I've made. Don't go to Dubai in summertime. You will be black because the sun will burn. Oh, it was so hot. Literally on most days when we're doing touristy things, going out in the day, we were not even seeing the residents outside because they know that you should not come outside summertime. Like, everybody comes out at evening time. No one comes during the day, aside like when you're driving and everything. You don't see people walking on the street, nothing like that. It looks like a bit deserted. The sun is not it. Like 40 degrees at night, 32, 34 degrees. That's Celsius. So that is extreme. It's really bad, you know. So yeah, don't do it. Anyways, so the next day we woke up to our senses and we decided we're not doing this. So we stayed at home for most of the day. In the evening we now took a walk. So like I said, we lived in an ideal location, so we literally could walk to most of the places that we wanted to see within downtown Dubai, which is like a best place to stay, by the way. That's another advice. Downtown Dubai is ideal, close to the mall and most of the touristy places in main Dubai. So yes, we walked over to Address, so the Sky Observatory. It was absolutely lovely, and that cost us 80 dirhams, which was roughly £18.20. So 80 dirhams entry into the place. You can do this short slide, you can walk on glass and have the most amazing views of entire Burj Khalifa, Dubai. At night it's so gorgeous because of the lights and everything. During the daytime, I'm sure it's going to be even way more beautiful because you can see clearly what you're looking at. So it's just the amazing experience if you're interested in doing that. That was all for that evening. We got back home and we called it a day. The next day, we then went to Marina. So we took a taxi from home and went all the way to Dubai Marina for the first time. When we got there, it looked gorgeous. There were so many yachts and boats and everything. So we asked about prices, and we just felt like the most ideal one was a 1 hour yacht ride. They told us the price at first. We budgeted it, we priced it down to 650 dirhams for the entire yacht, which rounded off to 162.5 dirhams, roughly 36.90 pounds. So 36 pounds 90 pence was what we paid for the entire yacht per person. Went around in the and they were playing music. We got free drinks as well, free soft drinks and free water. They allowed us to connect our Bluetooth and everything, loving the ride, enjoying ourselves. After we got off the ride at the marina, we then took a small lake boat. I think that was 5 dirhams. I remember fully well. 5 dirhams on that small lake boat. And because of how hot it was like the best way to get from one part of the marina to the other part. So it was like 5 dirhams for that, and in the water taxi went from one end to the other end and got to Marina Mall, Dubai Marina Mall. The day before, we booked a tour for Dubai Desert Safari. So they are going to take us to the desert and enjoy all the, you know, I'm sure this is the most popular part of Dubai. When you see anyone going to Dubai, you go to the Desert Safari, you enjoy everything about camel riding, dune bashing and the likes, you know. That was it. So the entire package, this package was actually the best I feel we got. So we got it on Groupon, I think, if I remember correctly. It was 499 dirhams for 4 people. This includes pick up and drop off from your hotel. I was like, we're doing it. We're absolutely doing that. So 499 dirhams for 4 people, rounded off to 124 dirhams, 24.75 dirhams per person, and that was roughly 28 pounds 35 pence. So I absolutely loved this one. We got picked up, drove all the way to the Desert Safari. First off, we went dune bashing, had all the fun with that. Then next up, we went quad biking, enjoyed that bit. Then we got taken to the camp. In the camp, you get free food, free drinks, and refills and everything. We also get henna painting. You can go the camel riding. There's the night entertainments like the fire show, the belly dancing, and one other tanura dancer. So it was like a whole packed event. So many things back to back to back, and I think there were almost like 7 different activities or things that we got to enjoy for just 499 as a group of 4 people. That was like, I just loved. I think this was like still the best thing we got out of the whole trip, honestly. So that was good. Then that was all for that evening. The next day was a Sunday, I believe. So most of the early hours of the day we're just chilling at home, enjoying ourselves. And then in the evening, we now went to Atlantis Aquaventure Park. So this is the mistake we made. We assumed, oh, like most other places, it stays open longer, but apparently it stays open till 6 p.m. and we got there like 4. So I was like, oh my god, our day is wasted. And you know, just like most water parks, the lines for the rides are so long, so we all just got to enjoy like 2 rides each or something like that. But it was so annoying. Aside the annoyance of that, it was such a blast. Like, it was a lovely, there's so many rides, and the 2 we got to enjoy were actually a bomb. And how much we paid for that? Each person paid 265 for entry. This one, so we got this as a deal. There's this tour board tourism company that we found online that we got this as a deal for. So ideally you should pay over 300 pounds. I think it's 340 pounds if you go on like to the main website, Aquaventure website, to book it. At first I was even scared. I was like, oh my god, hope this is not fake. But it wasn't fake, guys. I got into the park, we all got to the park okay, you know. And for 265 dirhams, which was roughly 60 pounds 23 pence, we got, it's meant to be an all day, but for us sadly was 2 hours. An all day entry into Atlantis Aquaventure, all rides and everything. So beautiful. So that was all the activities actually that we did for most of the day. Oh, I forgot to mention, so the day we went to the Desert Safari, we also, Chigo and I, at the end, which is Chigo, the person, one of the people I traveled with, at the end of the day when we got back home, we went back to the Dubai Mall. So at the Dubai Mall, you can get like a lake boat ride. So usually there's the fountain activity that happens from I think 7 p.m. to like 11 p.m. every evening at the Dubai Mall. So you just play a song, and the fountain display is so gorgeous. Everyone who's walking around that area can watch it for free. But if you would like to watch it from the lake, so like you can get a traditional lake boat ride, and then it takes you around the lake and then leaves you on the lake just beside the fountain. It's not too close, but definitely a clearer view or nearer view of the fountain display, which is so beautiful. So Chigo and I were like, yeah, we're definitely doing that. So we did that, and that was 69 dirhams. I think it was a bit less than that because we're 2. But I think what I remember was not up to 70. So I think it's roughly 69 dirhams, and that rounded off to 15 pounds 70 pence, what we spent for the traditional lake boat ride. So yes, most of all the activities, not even most, all the activities that I just mentioned here was part of the 300 pounds I mentioned at the start that I withdrew and changed to dirhams when I went. Also the grocery shopping that we did, everything came out from that 300 pounds. So I can say that like I enjoyed all of this in my 300 pounds I took as money to spend. So that was so good. Then a day before we left, and also the day that I was leaving, the day of my flight, I went shopping just to pick up a few things for family, for friends, and things like that. And that is when I now started getting money from my pound account. So the money I had, like the cash I had, I spent it all off. So I now started using my card, for my pound card, to get tap into the money I had back home and things like that. And that's when I started touching other things. And I think I roughly spent about 200 pounds with that. So it's going to be a bit more. So I think it's roughly 200 pounds for all the things. So I'll say like that's an ideal budget for you to use for shopping, like slight shopping in Dubai. Another advice I would like to give, instead of going to the mall, most things can be expensive. You can go to, there's this thing called Day to Day. So Day to Day is a very big franchise, because funny enough, I saw it in Qatar airport. So I think it's a big franchise in the Middle East, not just Dubai. So Day to Day, we had this really big shop at Al Safa. We went over there, we shopped a bit, and that was like, it was ideal for me to get a few things. But I also got a few things from the mall, you know, and things like that. So that's what's how much I spent and everything else. Another advice I would like to give, because most of what we did, we used a lot of taxis, going to places, coming back, a lot of taxis. But you can save a lot of money if you decide to use the metro and the buses. So I googled this before going, and there are different type of metro cards you can use. It's something they call a NOL card, so NOL, a NOL card, that they use in Dubai. And the sad thing about the UAE, you cannot use the same transport card in Sharjah and Dubai. You cannot use the same one in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. It's like different cities and they all have their different systems. But although they use the same currency all around, but they have their different transport systems and bodies and different things. So that's just the only sad thing. But if you're within Dubai and you're going to be going around a lot, one NOL card that allows you on the train, the tram, and the buses, you can get like a red NOL card, and that's for a week's pass, which is, if we thought about it and planned it well, we could all have gotten a week's pass, which was 110 dirhams, and that would have saved us a lot of money. 110 dirhams divided by 4.4, that's roughly like 20, or a bit more than 20, let me just say 25 pounds, and would have saved all the money we spent on the different taxis, and spent 25 pounds each. But it still added up because of how many we were and splitting the taxes. It wasn't too extreme. I feel like it was still roughly just a bit more than 25 pounds for my expense altogether, so it wasn't too bad. But yeah, I think I've come to the end of this video. Everything I spent was over 1,500 pounds, but that is just like a breakdown of how it all went and what I used everything for. And I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've taken down the notes, the gems I've given you, and I hope you do enjoy your trip to Dubai or Sharjah when you choose to go. Have a blast, and hope to see you in the next video I put out. Thank you so much.